Now you've learned how to make Word really picky, which will frustrate you, frustrates me, and you've learned how to set a document so that the entire document is checked for grammar and spelling errors. And so this little document I have here, which initially looked fine, is not. So we're going to look, I made some errors in the second paragraph, and so I wanted to just show you those real quick. First, I have a grammar error as denoted by the green squiggly. Then I have a spelling error, red squiggly, another grammar error, and another spelling error. And those are the only true grammar and spelling errors left in this document. And the other things that show up as errors are things that are in our works cited list. Names of authors are pretty commonly flagged as misspelled because we have weird names. We don't use names like puppy or kitten or house, unless you're talking about Dr. House, and then that's another issue. We also sometimes run into spelling errors in the titles of articles, and some of that might be because things change over time. Some of it might be that the person was fluent in another language and English was a second language, and they screwed up the spelling, but no one caught it. If you see a spelling error flagged in a title of an article in your reference list, it's a good idea to go back to that original publication, make sure that you have the title of the article spelled correctly, and leave it as it is if it's spelled correctly based on the title of the article. On the other hand, if you misspelled the title, make sure you fix that problem. So we're not going to worry about the works cited list. I'm going to go up to this second paragraph, and what I'll do is just click on the end of the previous paragraph. Then I'm going to run spelling and grammar manually. So I've come over to the spelling and grammar button, and I'm going to click that. And it's going to start to report the problems that it sees. And it's going to offer suggestions. Understand, these suggestions are not always right. They don't always communicate what you want them to communicate. So we need to use our own free will. Think about, does this suggestion change the language in a way I don't want it to be changed? And this first one happens to be a passive voice. Kind of the gist of a passive voice, we're using two verbs in a row. Our subject is not highlighted at the beginning of the sentence. So in this case, if we look at the sentence, it's talking about instructors dealing with technology changes and training processes. But you notice that instructors is way over here after the issue. And we have a double verb going on here. We have dealt with. Well, we want to get this so that the instructor is the center of attention for this sentence. And that's actually, in this case, what Word is suggesting. It's saying instructors have dealt with, and it dropped out a being dealt with, and just made it have dealt with technology changes. And so I kind of like this change. So I'm going to say, go ahead and change my messed up sentence. And then it jumps to a spelling error. And you have to be careful about these. Make sure whatever word's suggesting is what you really want, because it's just using what it sees and trying to find the words that are closest to what it sees. So technology has changed how instructors deliver materials. I'm thinking that means changed. So I'm going to look at my suggestion. That happens to be the one offered. So I'm going to say, okay, go ahead and make that change. And then it jumps down to so that they could engage in research and practice skills, misspelled, and skills correctly spelled is the first thing displayed. And you might notice it did the spelling error first. It pretty commonly does that in a sentence. So I'm going to change that. Then it goes back and it says, oh, wait a minute, this is a passive sentence. This sentence is too long for Word to be able to figure out how to fix it. So it's going to leave it up to us to fix. So I could click here in the document, look at the sentence and see what's going on. In the 1960s, has brought to instructors and students, was brought to instructors and students by time-sharing systems. I think that the focus here is that time-sharing systems brought computer processing power to instructors and students. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to select time-sharing systems, delete it, put it right before processing power, and I could either copy the word brought over or just type it. I'm just going to type it. Computer. So in the 1960s, time-sharing systems brought computer processing power. Now I need to get rid of this was brought to instructors and students by, okay, that's a fragment from when I had time-sharing systems out here. Get this out of there. So let's see, time-sharing systems brought computer processing power to instructors and students so that they could engage in research and practice skills. Sounds good. So in this case, Word didn't know how to fix the problem, so we had to do it ourselves. And so now I'm down to the bibliography. I'm not going to go through and correct or add all of these author names, but I'm going to go back up to the top of the document and row my spelling and grammar again. And it jumps down to the bibliography, and so I've fixed all of the problems that I found in this document. Jump back up here, and you can see there are no more red or green squigglies. Now, a tip I have is every once in a while when you're working on your document, make sure you go back to the document, select the whole thing, and adjust your proofing settings so that English is the text, English is the language you're using, and all of the document is going to be checked. So we don't have a checkbox here or this box I don't know how to describe it, but blue, basically. So that will make sure that Word checks everything for grammar and spelling errors. And that's it. Hopefully this will help you. Thanks.